Welcome to Unhinged and Bumbled Up, where you can
join serial dater Phil,
that's me, and dating detoxer Liz,
that's me. Welcome to the world of online dating.
What can you expect in the Unhinged and Bumbled Up podcast?
Dating do's, don'ts and disasters.
What we and our guests would gladly chuck in the 2020 dating bin to be gone forever.
What real people really think about those tricky dating dilemmas.
Awesome dating trivia. You'll never know when it'll come in handy for that pub quiz.
Top tips and tricks from our awesome guest experts who luckily know a little more about dating than we do.
So if you've ever had a dating disaster,
ignore the red flags.
If your dating life is less successful than the chances of you fitting in those clothes you bought before lockdown,
then you're in the right place. Do we know what we're talking about? No! Our dating lives are both utter shite. So join us as we talk all things dating. The good, the bad, and the sorry, there's just no spark.
Hello and welcome to the Unhinged and Bumbled Up podcast. I'm Phil, she's Liz, and today we're joined by Abbie Does Dating. You may have seen Abbie on Instagram or heard her on the Singled In podcast. So this week we will be talking to Abbie about her Instagram account, dating, and how to deal with those awful opening lines. Hi Abbie, would you like to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Abbie. I am the face behind Abbie Does Dating. I would describe myself as a professional singleton. I live by myself with my two little dogs, no children, and I'm a slave to Tinder.
Nice. That's really nice. What made you start the Instagram account? Like, where did it come from? What was the idea behind it?
I decided to start the Abbie Does Dating. Found myself on Tinder after my marriage breakdown, and I was shocked by the amount of fucking dickheads on there. So I shared a couple on my personal Facebook and everyone went mad. I got such a good response. So I thought, you know what? What have I got to lose? Why not share it with the world? And thus Abbie Does Dating was born. And it took off way bigger than I ever imagined.
Yeah, I came across you before I actually started my Instagram page. And I came across you through someone else and I was like, okay, this is cool. And I was kind of like, this is so true. Like these messages that girls are getting and nobody's saying anything about it. And then the further in the dating community you go, you see a lot of people are saying stuff about it.
And Abbie, what do you think it is about the kind of content that you share that grips people or that connects with people, gets that reaction? Because it's something very particular, isn't it? Where you see that and you're like, oh my God, what the hell?
I think the thing that draws people in and makes the content so relatable is that anyone on a dating app experiences the same. And it's one of the things that I'm really passionate about is I don't want anyone to feel like they're by themselves. I used to get messages from dickheads and think, what the fuck is wrong with you, Abbie? And the amount of messages I get in my inbox saying, I thought it was just me. So I think that there's a real fucked up sense of community. Like, it's not just happening to me, it's happening to her as well.
Yeah, and also there's something there about it's not something I'm doing. It's not something that I'm doing wrong as a woman, which is prompting this knobbish behaviour in men, because it's happening to all women.
Yeah, definitely. And I think sharing it with the world has just reiterated the fact that, you know, I can't be everyone's cup of tea, but I still deserve to be spoken to with respect.
Now, with that, do you get any backlash from guys or anything on your page or in your DMs or anything like for what you put? Like,
I have had a couple of messages from men saying, "Oh, he was just doing this," or a bloke messaged me and said, "Oh, you've got great tits." You couldn't see my tits in any of the pictures I've got on my Tinder. So you're just giving you a compliment. It's the wrong kind of compliment. How can you?
Yeah. Not really a compliment.
No, not a compliment.
Not all.
I think as well, I had a long drive to do today, right? And I was thinking about this because I saw your post this morning. and it got to me, you know, like something that just lodges itself in your, like, in the pit of your stomach, and you're like, I don't feel good about that. What is it that I don't feel good about? And I was thinking about that thing where a guy, and maybe it's not just guys, I don't know.
It is 90% of the time. I haven't had anything like that off women before.
So when somebody, probably a guy, starts a conversation with something explicitly sexual, for me, that is the equivalent of flashing somebody in a supermarket. Like, there is no context, there's no build up, you have no sense that the other person is up for it. You can't just put that out there. Like, in order to be respectful, you have to check and be very, very confident that the other person wants that kind of content, whether it's like sexting, verbal stuff, or whether it's a photo. Like, you can't just send that shit. That is genuinely the equivalent of just whipping your genitals out in the broccoli aisle. And it's not really okay at all.
No, it's not okay. And what pisses me off the most is that person has made a snap judgment based on 9 carefully selected pictures and a 300-character bio. The audacity is loud. How dare they assume that I am up to being spoken to like that from 9 pictures and a short bio?
Yeah. It's like Liz was saying, they wouldn't do it in real life, in person to you.
You wouldn't walk up to somebody in a bar and say, I'd love to have my hands around your neck. Like, it just wouldn't. You'd probably get a drink thrown in your face. It just wouldn't happen.
It's a threat of assault, really, isn't it? Really,
it is definitely a type of assault. And the other thing is that there seems to be a sense, or certainly in people's reaction, like if you say, no, this is not really all right with me, there's definitely a reaction which is like, oh, you're a prude, blah, blah, blah. Like, but a woman who would be upset by somebody flashing them in a supermarket would not be considered a prude. They'd be considered a normal human person who doesn't want unsolicited sexual contact.
Do you know what that bloke messaged me back?
What?
He messaged me back saying, calm down, Karen, nothing happens.
What?
There's going to be a Netflix documentary about him, I'm sure.
It's going to be called Calm Down, Karen.
Yeah.
Yeah, geez. Moving on to maybe a better topic, I don't know. How is dating going at the moment? I'm guessing it's not just idiots that slide into your DMs. I'm guessing hopefully there's some nice guys out there that slide in. And yeah, so how's dating going?
Yeah, you're right. I do have so many lush conversations with so many men, but I feel like sharing that is kind of disrespectful towards them.
Yeah.
You know, if it was to develop or go anywhere. But yeah, I've got a couple of men on the back burner. I say a couple because, you know, got
keep your options
nothing
open.
serious, nothing physical. Just, you know, dipping my fingers in a couple of pies.
Just distributing some eggs among a few baskets, quite appropriately.
Exactly. I've got a backup.
That's fine.
And so, how would you say that your approach to dating, your experience about dating, and these kind of things from men has changed at all or evolved over time, or do you think it's a fairly static entity?
On a personal level, or the kind of messages that I receive?
Both, either.
Okay, so I've definitely got much more of a thick skin, and I think I've turned into a bit of a cynic. I went into dating apps quite blasé, very naive, and now I've constantly got this thing in the back of my head saying he's probably a devil dick. He's probably a devil dick, which is, you know, if people treat you like you're worthless, or, you know, speak to you with a massive amount of disrespect, it's really sad, but you come to
expect it. Yeah.
You come to expect it, don't you? But I honestly think that the men and the messages are getting worse. And I can only speak. I am a female and I'm attracted to males. So all my experiences are based with men. So I don't know what it's like for the gay community, the lesbian community, you know, men receiving messages from women. But they're getting a lot more crude, they're getting a lot more vile, they're getting a lot more violent, and it's getting a lot more often.
So a question I want to ask, because I wanted to run this little experiment. And the thing is, because these messages are coming to you when you're swiping right on people you like, right? People that you find attractive. What would happen if you swiped right on everybody, like, I'm just wondering, would the messages just increase massively?
This terrible stuff is happening with some level of selection and filtering on your part. So these are like arguably the good ones, because you filtered out some of the potentially really awful ones during the swiping process.
Yeah, it's quite scary to think about, really, isn't it?
It's quite scary, yeah.
Yeah, because I matched with these people, again, based on some carefully selected pictures and a 300-character bio, but I try and pick things that we've got in common. And it doesn't bear thinking.
No, and you're probably filtering some red flags.
Oh,
like
100%.
There'll be some stuff that is like an automatic left swipe, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What are they for you? What are those like meep meep danger?
No bio. No, how am I supposed to know anything about you? No photos. The blokes that are out there, which I guess I kind of have some respect for, that just put out for fun. That's not for me. That's not what I want.
Yep.
I don't know. Just generally, I don't really know how to word it.
There's just certain things that you see and you're instantly like, no, that's not for me.
And I think sometimes it's like a gut thing, isn't it? You just, something in you just knows biologically, like, avoid.
I don't like the bios that, this is going to make me sound like such a snob, I don't like the bios that aren't spelled correctly. You know, with text talk, that's a real big thing for me. Just little things like that.
And I'm trying to be more open-minded and sort of tolerant of diversity in spelling, because I appreciate that there are genuine reasons why some people's spelling is not, 100%. But I agree, the text talk thing, like, you don't need to write the letter U, or like, when 3 words are smushed together with 2, LUV, to meet you. I'm like, what? Like,
I can overlook spelling mistakes, grammar. I'll hold my hands up. Back in the day, I did used to go for people for their spelling, but I've been educated. I've had my eyes opened. Some people aren't as fortunate to have had the education that I have, or that they have some form of learning disability or whatever. So I can overlook things like that.
There's a certain level that you can overlook. That's the thing. There's a certain level, and if people, because I used to do it. I used to fill all 300 characters and be like, what can I make shorter? But now it's like, no, if I can't say what I need to say in those 300 characters, then it's not worth it.
You have to be concise. I can imagine you trying to write a bio. Bloody hell, you talk at 100 miles an hour. It would be like, how do I feel? And blah, 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 blah,
could you imagine if it was like a voice bio that I left? It would be like, oh, you have 10 seconds to say this. Whole life.
I feel like it would be written with no spaces and no punctuation, just to continue a stream of words.
Just go like that.
Another thing that gets me is the message me to know more.
Yes.
Oh, I hate
that.
it.
I hate it.
Hate it. Because you have to give me something for me to know if I want to message you.
Yeah.
Like, particularly when that's the only thing that's written down, and you're like, you have not given me enough of a hook to be asked messaging you. If you can't be bothered to write something in a bio, I cannot be bothered to message you.
You don't buy a white goods without reading up on it first, do you?
You don't. Although I am one of those people, there are people who love doing research into what they should buy and all the exact models and all their specifications and where you can get best. I'm more like that one.
See, my granddad's one of those people. He will research for hours to buy something. Yeah.
My idea of hell. I just want to. One of the first 5 that I see will be the one that I buy.
It looks nice.
So you can imagine me on a dating site. I'm like, I don't know him. I don't know him. What, I don't know what him. Carnage.
With the red flags, obviously, because this is pre-recorded for anyone out there that doesn't think it is. On your story today, you were asking people about their red flags, and some things popped up, and they absolutely made my blood boil. Thinking people thought they were red flags. Like, what was it like? Some of them for you, like, if I will tell you, like, what
some were legit, weren't they? But some you were like, not really, no.
Yeah, I guess in a way, red flags are situational, aren't they? Like, my red flags won't be the same as your red flags.
No,
but not having a fucking toaster. They might
I don't have a
grill.
toaster. I don't have a toaster.
That's why you're single, Liz.
Use a grill.
You need a toaster. This is
You
where
are a
it's all
walking
went
red
wrong.
flag.
Aren't I? I just use a grill like a, I don't know, caveman. But I probably won't buy a toaster now till February because I feel like maybe if I buy a toaster, that will like unlock dating success for me. And I can't do that too soon.
Nope.
I went on and
10
ordered
months
2
to
from Amazon.
You can't have too many toasters. In fact, does having more toasters make you even more successful?
I mean, you've got two people potentially on the 2 people that you're seeing at the moment. So how many toasters you got?
I've got 1, so
One.
maybe
You should
with
get
the
more
2 that's
toasters.
coming from Amazon, Abby does dating, there'll be no more.
You're gonna have 3 guys by the end of the week for sure.
Fingers crossed.
The 2020 bin.
This segment is called the 2020 bin, basically the modern room 101.
Each week we'll be asking our guest to chuck something they hate about dating in the 2020 bin and give us a reason why.
Okay, Abby, so every week we ask our guest to tell us about something that you think should go in the 2020 bin so it will never be seen again. And you already know what's in the bin, but we can't talk about them because they're gone. So tell us what you would like to put in the 2020 bin and why.
So I would like to put in the 2020 bin on dating app bios when men put 6 foot whatever because apparently it matters. Get in the bin. No one cares. No one cares how tall you are. Just fuck off. I think men just use it as a... I'm trying to think of the right word.
It's like a humble brag, isn't it? It's like, oh, I'm 6'2". Oh, but it's not because I want to tell you that I'm 6'2". It's because apparently you want to know that I'm 6'2".
Just to let
Either
you
say
know.
I'm 6'2" or not.
Just to let you know,
6 foot.
I'm
Yes,
6'2".
Phil, we know you're 6'2".
Get in the bin, Phil.
Go into the bin.
And I
But
think
yeah,
they
I
always
agree.
add on a couple of inches anyway. I
They
think men
definitely
do
do.
that with all aspects of their fucking anatomy.
Some men, not all men. Let's add this. Some men.
And look, I don't mind people putting their height on a profile. It's fine. I'm quite tall. It's quite helpful for me. Not because I would rule out dating somebody smaller, but we all know by now about the tiny man situation that I don't want to be in again. So I don't mind when people put it on the profile, but just put it on your profile and own it. Don't do this like, oh, apparently it matters, as if it's like as if it's a thing about girls that they're really particular about height. Like, it is and it isn't, but you don't need to like couch it. You can just say I'm 6'2". I'm like taller than most people. Quids in for me. Doesn't have to be a humble brag.
You've got all the boxes. You've got the boxes for height, haven't you? I think I wouldn't know about Tinder because I'm banned from Tinder.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm banned from Tinder for trying to sell perfume.
What?
I remember you telling me that actually.
Yeah.
I signed up with my email address originally, but now it's linked to my phone number. So if I get banned from my phone number, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
How did you get banned in the first place? From
Me?
email?
Oh,
No, Abby.
Abby.
Well, I mean both.
I think I called too many people a cunt.
Oh, fair. I can see that might do it. Yeah. Phil, what about you?
I kind of fancied myself as a Del boy and went into this whole online marketing kind of, that multi-level marketing thing with FM perfume.
Well. Okay.
And I thought, what better way to sell than sell to single women who
I
apparently
can see the logic.
apparently didn't go down too well when people reported me and I got banned pretty much the same day.
I feel like we need to just take a moment to appreciate the enterprising nature of your personality, Phil, but just maybe the execution and the strategy not quite so much.
I can't go back on Tinder, so I can't.
So I'm the only person out of the 3 of us who can use Tinder, except I can't use Tinder.
Well, Abby can use
There we are.
Tinder, but just
I can
through her
use Tinder.
number.
Only on your phone. This is true. Good loop.
Adapt and
Very good
overcome.
loop. Okay.
Yeah.
Are we agreed that putting your height and then, because apparently it matters, should go in the bin?
Yes, 100%. That's in the
Unanimous.
bin. Chuck
It's in
it
the
in.
bin.
Ow.
Thanks, Abby.
See you, loser.
Now, before we move to the next segment, have you heard about our giveaway? We are giving away a bundle worth up to the value of £300. And if you're listening and already pressed the subscribe button, you are part the way there to entering. So head over to our Instagram after the show. Now, back to the episode.
Back to the questions.
Can you answer this?
Now we're back to the real reason why you're all here, asking our guests the questions and getting the answers.
Singled In podcast. How did that start? Like, it's you, Hayley, and Carly, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
So it's actually Hayley's baby.
Yep.
She messaged me out of the blue. So me, Carly, and Hayley have never met. Neither have Carly and Hayley.
That's mad, because it sounds, when you listen to the podcast, like you three are like best mates.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd all like exchanged messages and So we'd all exchanged messages and, you know, had general chit chats. And she just slid into my DMs one day and was like, I want to start a podcast. Are you in? And we sat on it for 6 months. We were so stressed. We were so worried. Like, we wanted to get the vibe right. And we needed that time to kind of get to know each other, because we didn't want it to feel like 3 girls had just been shoved in a room.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it.
Yeah. It sounds like you are all together sat there and just like having a chat about.
It has the feel of when you go out with a group of girls for some wine and everybody just like shares stuff and laughs, and there's no kind of like airs and graces or filtered versions. It's just kind of all out on the table, and that's what I like so much about it.
Yeah.
And that's the vibe that we wanted. You should see our group chat. There is definitely no
pure Phil.
There is definitely no airs and graces in there. Some of the topics that we talk about and how much we overshare with each other, I do feel like I've known them forever.
Yeah.
It's really nice that we have just sort of fallen into place and clicked, and I'm really pleased to hear from the pair of you that that's how it comes across in the recording.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm excited to see where that goes.
And I also feel like I didn't learn this until probably the last couple of years, but it's so important to have a couple of people who you can just be totally open with and tell everything to. Like, my best friend in the world knows everything, like all the gory details. We literally had a very intricate conversation recently about waxing. Like, if one of us has, you know, some action, the other one is hearing all the details.
I don't know all the details about you, Liz. What?
You're my second best friend, Phil. But yeah, it's so, for me, it's really important and valuable to have somebody who you can just spill the beans fully to. And I don't want people to feel like, you know, that they, like, all the details of everything gets shared, but at the same time, sometimes you need somebody to bounce off, and she will be the first person who knows if something's wrong. Like, I had a really awful experience on a date about 6 months ago, like awful. We haven't talked about it yet on the podcast. We will do at some point, but more or less a sexual assault. And I sent her a voice note shortly after, which didn't mention what had happened. It was something like, oh, sometimes you have to have awful sex to know, like, when to like appreciate the good. And she rang me and she was like, are you okay? Something's happened. You're definitely not okay. Like, what's up? And knew immediately. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that transparency in a friendship and that ability to share everything actually means that you then have somebody really looking out for you and who can fully read you when something's up.
Yeah. So my best friend Kaylee, I've known her 16 years now. She is my person. She knows me better than I know myself. She knows my head's gone before my head's gone. But I'm more or less an open book. I am happy to talk about anything. Whereas she kind of likes it just to be us. But with Carly and Hayley, and because we've all got such different backgrounds, while we've all had shit experiences in the dating game, they're all different shit experiences, which I think is why we work so well, because we can offer different perspectives. Mm-hmm. But you're right, you do need that one person that knows you inside and out. I think Kaylee's seen me naked more times than I have.
Is that the same for guys, Phil?
What? The naked part?
Well, possibly. But the like having somebody or a couple of people who you can just totally share and don't have to do any filtering. You can just kind of put it all out there.
I don't think so. Like I've got Wayne. Here's shout out Wayne.
Hey Wayne.
Get one on
Hi,
every podcast, every episode. Yeah, I've got Wayne that I talk to practically every day, but we don't go deep into anything. It's strange. I don't know whether it's because of that whole stigma around men don't talk about their feelings when they really should. So yeah, maybe guys need people like that.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
I'm going to start talking to him about shaving.
Start oversharing with Wayne, and Wayne's going to get in touch with me and Abby and be like, fuck's sake, girls, what have you done? Phil's telling me everything now.
I did share him about the collab that slid into our DM that I said that wasn't suitable for our audience. Basically,
tell the listeners about our new sponsorship
that we're not accepting. Sorry. It's a ball trimmer. So a ball trimmer.
A trimmer for the balls.
Yeah. Bear in mind.
What's it called? Oh no! Don't plug them. It's something just really like does what it says on the tin, like smooth balls.
Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, 85% of our listeners are female. What are they going to do with this?
What I didn't tell you is that they also slid into my DMs to offer a collab deal. I was like, mate, I don't even have balls. But also the irony was that was about 3 days after I released a blog post about personal grooming, and the fact that I was just bloody glad to be able to opt out of bikini line grooming for the foreseeable future, because who the fuck cares? Nobody's going to see it. And yeah, three days later, I get a thing about having smooth balls, and I was like, it's nearly right, but it's not quite right.
I'm a bit annoyed that you got approached before the guy with actual balls.
It's a fair point.
Do they think these people?
Probably not.
Do they think?
No, we get quite a lot of, and I'm sure you do, we'd love to like, oh, what's it like, collab with you, sign up here, and you're like, yeah, no, it's not a real thing.
I mean, they were going to send a review unit, which, yeah.
I mean, we could do like a tried and tested segment on the show, but I feel like this might get a bit graphic.
Yeah, massively.
Anyway. And I feel like our friendship will not be enriched by me thinking any more than I currently am about your actual balls.
No, moving swiftly on.
Dating disasters.
This segment of the show is called Dating Disasters, because let's face it, we've all had them. Each week we'll be asking our guests to share their worst dating disaster, and we'll be sharing a dating disaster we've either received or one of our own.
Okay, so Abby, it's dating disasters time. A lot of people, this is their favourite part of the show. I know that I always look forward to it. So have you got a dating disaster to tell us about?
How many do you want?
Yeah, have you got 300 and can you pick one of them?
Don't make my head into too loud, please. Just one.
Okay, so I am going to go with... So, matched with a bloke, obviously, got chatting, decided on a day date, and I don't normally like a day date, but we decided to meet for coffee. Met at a Starbucks. And I'd really liked this guy. Like, we got on really well over the phone, over text, over FaceTime. But you know when there's just nothing there in real life? So I finished my skinny latte and was like, right, I'm going to head home now. I'll text you when I get home. I had no intentions of texting him. We were parked pretty much in the same place. And we were walking up this car park really awkwardly. And all of a sudden he stopped and went, "You're so beautiful." And I was like, "Oh, thank you. That's really kind." He was like, "I wasn't fucking talking to you. I was talking to my car."
Oh, what?
What?
So this bashed up 17-year-old Audi.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, okay. Sorry to have got that wrong. Got in my car and blocked him.
That's a mad thing to say out loud. Like, you can think it. Like, if you really love it, some people love their car. Think it. Don't say it out loud to a date.
No.
That's red flag territory there.
We have started learning some stuff about these dating disasters, some patterns though. If someone goes to Starbucks for your first date, it
Always terrible.
It tends to turn out terrible.
There are a high proportion of dating disasters that are set in Starbucks. I feel like
Yep.
we need to learn something here.
Yep.
I feel like we need to contact Starbucks.
Say,
Tell them
me.
to up their date game. Something you're doing is not working, Starbucks.
Yeah, change it.
Phil, so you've got a dating disaster to share for us, and it's one from you this time, huh?
Yes, it is one from me. I got reminded of it the other day, actually, when somebody asked me what my biggest dating disaster is. So basically, chatting to this girl, we matched, swapped numbers on WhatsApp. She didn't have social media, apparently, so should have seen that red flag right there, but didn't carry it on through. So we arranged a date, for a date. Met, was on about meeting somewhere quite nice. On the day of the date, I went to go speak with my barber, not for a haircut, just because me and him get on really well. And upon leaving my barber's, I got a flat tire. So I messaged her going, like, listen, I got a flat tire, but I'm going to go get it fixed. I'll be in Nottingham and I can come over and meet you if it's not done in time. Yep, fine, no worries, no problem, everything like that. And at the time I lived in Leicester, so I lived about an hour away. So waiting in quick fit, tire got done. I was like, yep, going to make it perfectly in time. Pulled up, parked up around the corner, about to pay for parking, about to text her going, yep, just pulled up and I'll meet you outside. When their profile picture on WhatsApp disappeared and it was only one tick 15 minutes before. So I went on the dating app. She'd unmatched me on that, tried to give her a call, went straight to voicemail. So called her off withheld, rang, and then went to voicemail. So I was like, okay, I've just been ghosted on an actual date.
Like, that is like the worst form of ghosting. Like, when you've
Yes.
actually literally gone to meet somebody and then they vanish.
Yeah.
That is brutal.
That's the equivalent of walking in a bar and them seeing you and then just pretending that they didn't arrive.
It's
Yeah.
like a proper being stood up
Yep.
situation, isn't it?
Yep, they didn't even see me because the parking was around the corner. So fortunately, I didn't pay for the parking, which I'm very glad about.
Silver linings. That's brutal. I just say, I've changed my mind. Sorry, mate,
Exactly.
changed my mind.
Exactly,
Fine,
gave
yeah.
them enough time. So
Harsh.
yeah, fun.
At least,
And, you know,
in fairness, at least she
Sorry.
didn't bother with like a nonsense excuse, like, oh, my cat's been sick, I can't make it. Although my
Yep.
cats are sick quite a lot. Like, you know, at least she didn't bother to humour you with like a naff excuse.
No, exactly. So yeah, I just lived and learned, told a few friends, and they were like, what a bitch. I was like,
That's
Yeah.
harsh.
I'd have really appreciated the honesty, though. You know, I'll admit I'd have been a bit like, oh, is this an excuse? But the fact that you were consistent with that, right, this is my plan, I'm still going to make it on time.
mhm.
I'd have really appreciated that. So that was a real dick move on her part.
Yeah, because you had a genuine obstacle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It wasn't a nonsense flake off on your part,
Mm.
and she still bailed.
And we're still talking backwards and forwards until about half an hour before the date. And then at 15 minutes, it was like, duh. So I was
Like turned into a pumpkin.
yeah, it was Cinderella, wasn't it? When it reached quarter to
Bad
one. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Worst possible
Say
Cinderella.
la vie, move on, make a podcast and bitch about it. Yes.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Great plan.
Facts about dating.
This segment is called Facts About Dating, where we increase our knowledge slightly and learn a little fun fact about dating. We also ask the guest to find a fun fact.
So here's the time of the week where we learn a little fun fact about dating. And let's go with Abby first this week.
So 25% of online daters admit to talking to 4 or 5 people at the same time.
What?
So how do
I
you?
will raise my hand and say that I'm guilty of this.
Yeah, but you are more of like a one-person sitch, right, Phil?
Me?
Or is that just when you get to the actual dating stage?
Yeah, when I get to the dating stage, if I arrange a date with somebody or if I feel a connection with someone, then I'll kind of go, right, I want to get to know this person better. And that's just me. I'm just like, do you know what? I can't concentrate on 100 people at once.
I'm very much the same. Like when you get to sort of physical dating, like going for a drink, going for dinner or the cinema or whatever, I'm definitely a one-man kind of girl. But I ain't putting all my time and energy into someone I'm just texting.
I used to, and that's probably where I went wrong. So,
well, because then you kind of overinvest in that person, don't you? And think like, oh, this could go somewhere. And then when you meet and there's inevitably no actual chemistry, you feel like you've like wasted all that time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, because I've had that issue where I don't want to swipe right. Well, like on Hinge, the people that come up in your, I don't know if anyone's on Hinge, but the people that come up that like you, I've got like 50 plus people that I haven't gone through. Like, that's over a long period of time, by the way. That isn't like in the last week.
Not like today. You know, like, oh, I'm just such a catch. I've got so many matches.
Let me tell you how many matches I've got on Tinder. Hang on. Are you ready?
Yeah.
We are. This should have been the fact.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't tell you anymore.
Oh, bad
It
times.
used to tell you how many matches you had. It doesn't.
I'm gutted because I'm gutted because I'm basically living vicariously through both of you at the moment.
There is a lot. I'll give you my login. You can have a little look through mine. It's tragic.
Okay, I'm going to do my fact next.
Cool.
So, this is about people in the US. So, 7% of people in the US who were surveyed were using a dating website or app to cheat on their significant other. That was the main purpose of them being on the app. More interestingly, arguably than that, though, is that 39% of people surveyed were on the apps to have something fun or interesting to do. This is basically like using dating apps as a hobby. And to be fair, I think actually that's quite common, but I'm not sure it's something that I would consider fun or interesting having done it. I think the idea of it seems fun. The reality is far from fun.
100%.
Definitely.
My facts kind of relates a little bit to your facts. So again, in the USA, 27% of 18 to 34-year-olds use dating apps or websites to boost their self-esteem. Basically, just go on there for the likes, just go on there for the matches and just go, yeah, that's good. I'm good.
Basically what you just did 5 minutes ago and be like, oh, well, I've got loads of matches.
Yes, but I plan to get through those and swipe the left and the right and sort that out. Not for my self-esteem. Maybe
but the twatty messages completely negate that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do get why people would go on there for, you know, to have their ego massaged, you know, a bit of a confidence boost. But you get the twatty messages, so the good ones bring you up and the twatty ones bring you down. You might as well just go and have a wank.
But you get lovely compliments like that your tits look nice. What's not to like about that?
I can tell myself that.
The thing is, I noticed this a lot on Bumble. So because Bumble, obviously, the women have to speak first, and you've got the 24-hour countdown. So I noticed that I match with people, and then the countdown just runs out and disappears on lots of them. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why match with them in the first place?
So for me, it's a second filtering. And I'm sorry if this sounds harsh, but the swiping is the first filter.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go back to it to decide who I'm going to message. And I'm like, no, actually, I don't want to. No, actually, I don't want to.
Okay.
No, actually, I don't want to. And it's like was my second round of filtering, but also because I'm a super avoidant person, that 24-hour countdown makes me not want to. I'm like, no, you can't fucking tell me when to message them. I won't do it in 24 hours. I will not subscribe to this pressure.
That's why I don't use Bumble.
Yeah.
Because of the time limit on it.
Yeah.
And having to message first. Oh, I just can't think of novel things to write. Let's at least share the load.
Welcome to my world.
At least if there are two options, it can be 50-50, but having to always be the first one, no.
I do message first on all the other dating apps. I do message first. I have no objections with it. I think I overcompensate on dating apps because I guess I don't have the confidence. I would never in a million years approach a guy in a bar and be like, can I buy you a drink? Or, you know, can I have your number? But I have no objections doing it on a dating app.
See, I'm the opposite. I think I find it harder to start a conversation with somebody online because I feel like online I can't really put my personality across very easily or effectively. Whereas out, I would walk up to somebody and be like, you're a babe, show me a drink.
See, I'm with Abby on this one. I'm exactly the same. Yeah, going out, it's like confidence like lacks massively, but online, yeah, I'm like the most confident person ever behind his computer screen.
That's so interesting.
But I guess that's half the battle, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You can be whoever you want behind a phone screen, which is why I've got a bloody dating blog.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to the dates, I'm still that confident person. I think it's that initial approach.
Like cold approaching somebody, like just walking up to somebody you don't know. Yeah.
You never get a second chance to make a first impression, do you? So
no.
And that's a lot of pressure.
Massively.
And also, like, you don't know if somebody's in a relationship or heterosexual, or there are a lot of variables. Whereas at least on dating apps, like, you know that somebody's hopefully single and looking for somebody like you.
Unless you're in that 7%. But what I was going to say is, I feel that everyone should wear t-shirts. The colour that if they're in a relationship,
little pin badge.
if they're seeing somebody or a thingy, orange. If they're available, green
t-shirt.
I remember I was about 18. I was out one night and this bloke was giving me attention. I was here for it, and I said to him, have you got a girlfriend? And he went, no. You know, the night went well. We ended up having a little kiss, and then he put me in a taxi. We were going home separately, and someone saw us kissing, and he come over and was like, you know, he's got a wife, don't you? And I said to him, I asked you if you had a girlfriend. He went, well, I don't have a girlfriend.
Oh my God. That's bad times.
Bad times.
Bad times.
Did you get a slap and you walk off?
No, I just cried a lot because I felt terrible.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I'd have cracked him one.
Good on you.
I would have cracked him one.
Back to the questions.
Where am I? Who are you people?
This is the final instalment of guest questions, so sit back, relax, and find out what else we've got to ask.
Anyway, another red flag that I noticed that somebody said was going through a divorce. Now, we covered that on episode 2. Now, you're currently going through a divorce, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yep. So, as you probably already know, Liz is divorced. I'm going through a divorce.
Divorce club.
We're all part of that club. So I know I've listened into the Singled In podcast, and I know you relate to you basically. His name's Dickhead, isn't it? That's how you what you call him. So what happened? I mean, it's up to you. You can talk about it. Yeah,
it could be the potted version.
Yeah.
He basically just threw his dick about.
Yeah.
He had an affair, which he still denies to this day. But I saw his phone. So one night out of the blue, he just said, sit down, we need to talk. And he was in the army. So I thought, fuck, he's going to war. And I went, go on then. And he went, no, you need to sit down. And I was like, great, he's actually going to war. He was like, I'm leaving you. I was like, okay, mate, just laughed. So that was on the Tuesday. On the Wednesday, he moved out. And on the Saturday, he came over to collect some stuff. And I had never been through the bloke's phone. I trusted him. Mm-hmm. You know, I knew his passwords. He knew mine. And I said to him, I said, dickhead. I obviously called him his name. I can't shake the feeling that there is someone else. Let me see your phone. And the crafty little bastard had left it in the car. So I watched him out the window, went to the car, fucked about with it a bit. And he came in and he threw it at me. And the clever little twat had deleted the message thread between him and her, but his family knew about her, and that's how I found out.
Whoa.
We were going through IVF at the time as well.
Oh, that's harsh. That's really harsh. And also just to not be upfront about it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
people do all kinds of things, and everybody has made mistakes, but just be transparent, you know?
Do you know, if he wasn't happy, or, you know, the IVF was a bit too much, and I mentioned it on the last episode of Singled In, I probably wasn't a very nice person to live with. But talk to me, communicate. Communication for me is the biggest thing in a relationship.
Massively.
Don't get me wrong, I'd have been heartbroken if he'd have come home and said, look, I'm not happy, I want us to end. But there was no need for him to destroy my soul in the way that he did.
No, he should have sat you down and talked to you, see if you could have rectified whatever the issues were or anything like that, because it's such a better way of doing it, you know.
Or it might have been possible to come to a kind of amicable and mutual split rather than a split which has the kind of emotional loading that it has when there's know, a partner who's cheated.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what happened with that.
This has got a bit deep, Abby, so feel free to change the subject if you want to get back to the devil dicks. But do you feel that experience has influenced your ability to trust men? Or
I don't trust anybody.
Okay.
I don't trust anybody. Like, it constantly plays on my mind. How many times has that man told me he loved me and he didn't? How many times has he been with her, then got into bed and we've had sex? Or, you know, even the night before he told me he was leaving me, he'd been out doing army stuff.
Yeah.
So he'd been out and come home, and you know when you're just kind of dozing, I was in bed and I was like, oh, I'm not going to say anything, so I'm just going to pretend I'm asleep. And he kissed my forehead and told me he loved me. And as far as he was aware, I was asleep. He tried to have sex with me the morning that he told me he was leaving me. I was like, no, I'm in a rush. I'm going to be late for work. We'll do it later. And then not 12 hours later, he told me he was leaving me.
Jeez.
Tuesday night, I said to him, if you're serious, take your wedding ring off. And he did. So I took mine off and threw it at him. And he went and got in the spare bed. And I went through and I said, is this it? I said, is this our marriage over? And he went, yeah. And he went, but if you want one more night together, we can do that.
Whoa.
No.
Yeah.
Whoa, what a loser.
Definitely a dickhead. Definitely a dickhead. Right. Let's move on. Let's move on, because that dickhead deserves no more airtime on this show.
Devil dick or gets a tick.
Evil is a master of disguise.
This segment is called Devil Dick or Gets a Tick, where Abby will be deciding whether these messages deserve a devil dick or whether they get a tick.
Now, we've created a special little game like we do with most of our guests. We've quite a creative title this time. Now, Abby, on your Insta, you name all the guys that inbox your horrific messages, devil dicks. We're going to play a little game. So we'll be giving you some messages our listeners have got. What you need to do is reply in true Abby fashion. We have thrown in some nice opening messages and some a bit weird ones just to see what you'd say.
Put me on the spot.
So, Liz, do you want to go first with one? Start with this one. You, me, and a game of hide the sausage, ?
Found it. It's on your fucking forehead.
Yes! You know your own. That was back in September 2020. That message got put up. Liz?
Okay. This one's so grim. If I flip a coin, what are the chances of getting ahead?
Oh. I can't remember what I said, but
what would you have?
What would you say now?
What would I say now? Absolutely zero.
Yep. Absolutely none was your response.
Wait there. So, would you rather be cursed with glitter raining down on you all the time, or be forced to eat nothing but crisps for a week?
Oh, it's got to be crisps.
Crisps.
I love crisps.
Would you give that guy a tick? Or
I
would you?
would, yeah. I love inventive ones like that.
Good.
He gets a tick.
He gets a tick and he'd get a reply.
He would.
Is your last name Waldo or Wally, because a girl like you is hard to find.
Oh, kind of like it. It's a bit cheesy, isn't it? But I definitely would reply. I don't know what I would reply, but
that guy would get a tick.
Yeah, it's not disrespectful, is it?
I kind of like classic references, like the Where's Wally reference is like a nice nostalgic childhood thing. I had a really long conversation with somebody a while ago about Cheetos and different flavors of Cheetos, and there was just something nostalgic about it that made me go, oh. And I also am a big fan of crisps, so that worked. But I think there's something that feels like classic and like not gross about talking about something from like when you're growing up.
It's a very safe territory, isn't it?
Very safe. It's usually, but not exclusively, non-sexual.
Unlike this one. I'm jealous of your heart because it gets to pump inside you.
And you never fucking will.
I mean, you was a lot nicer back in 2019 when you put, do you kiss your mother with that mouth?
Do you?
God knows.
Okay, final one. This made me like dry heave. Does your sofa pull out? Because I don't.
I'm pulling out of this conversation.
It is exactly what you said.
Oh no. But you know what? There was, I swear to God, Devil Dicks have a group chat because they all seem to come up with the same lines at the same time. I must have had that message about 8 times. I think, oh my God, I think they have a group chat and say, oh my God, hit her with this line and she'll be dripping like a fucked fridge. No, there'll be no dripping. We're just dry heaving, like Liz said.
Mm-hmm. It's so grim. And it has like that kind of like very graphic, because it's never like just about sex, is it? It's always about like where they're going to come or something grim.
It's very vulgar, isn't it?
It's very vulgar, and it actually has like a physical effect on me, which is apparently the opposite to what they're going for, which is it makes me like tense up. Like, you can't see how I'm sitting now, listeners, you can't see anything, but I've literally got my legs crossed over each other in such a way that it's like I'm trying to curl myself up into a tiny ball. Like, it makes me just be like no.
We can all see what Liz looks like for everybody. That
I'm like folded up like a pretzel in like a protective way, not a cool way.
My vagina has never been drier.
Yeah. It's like
I like that line. I can't use that line, but I like that line. Final thoughts.
This segment is called Final Thoughts. Basically, we take a look back at the episode and we each pick something that we'll take away from it or something that we have learned.
So, a part where we each give one thing that we have learned or will take away from this podcast.
Okay, so for me, there's something about the vulgarity of the messages that I just think is so important to have out there, and that's something that I respect so much about your account, Abby, is that in the context of the Me Too movement, in the context of what's been going on in the media in the last couple of months about the fact that women don't feel safe, and it's all of the reason that women don't feel safe isn't the big stuff that happens. It's all the tiny little microaggressions that we experience every single day of our lives from a very large proportion of the men that we come into contact with, that makes you then not surprised when something major happens. And I think that probably for men are only aware of the big stuff. Men are only necessarily aware of the stuff that makes the news or the stuff that gets reported to the police. Probably men don't really get to see all of these little microaggressions that are happening day in, day out. And I think it's really important to shed a very accurate light on that.
Yeah.
And a lot of women don't realise that the things that are being said to them, you know, the way people are acting towards them is actually really inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And essentially constitutes sexual assault.
Yeah, definitely.
In the same way that domestic abuse isn't just being hit, There are
Mhm.
loads of other types of domestic abuse.
Yeah.
For me, it's the same thing. It's, it's not sexual assault in a physical sense, but for me, unsolicited sexual messages are still a form of sexual assault.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
100%. Abby, what would you take away from this episode?
Do you know what I keep thinking about? I can't stop thinking about the fact that men don't have that one person. That makes me a little bit sad. And, there is definitely a stigma around men talking about their mental health. But I thought it was just, I guess this is me being blinkered and naive. I thought it was just a case of sharing it with the world, sharing it with females. But if men don't feel comfortable talking about their innermost feelings with other men, who the fuck are they going to talk to? It's made me really sad, actually, and I can't quite get it out of my head.
I'm sorry.
It's important though, isn't it? Because actually a lot of my best friend is who I do a lot of, like when I'm really struggling, she would be like, I've been having a hard day today, and she is the first person who gets it, who's here for me, who offers words of wisdom or just a listening ear depending on what I need. And I don't know where my mental health would be if I didn't have that person and that ability to kind of have that kind of on-demand support, if you like, and vice versa.
Yeah.
My person, she's my safe space. I can go there, I can trauma dump, and we work through it together. And it's given me a bit of a lump in my throat, actually. It makes me really sad that men, and I guess we can say most men, because I guess there are men out there that do have a person.
There probably will be, yeah.
It just makes me sad that they don't have that safe space, that place where they feel like they can be completely themselves. Yeah, and I wasn't aware of that until today. I thought that everyone had a best friend that that you knew everything about, and they knew everything about you. But
it's the small stuff we talk about. It's the how a date went, or it's nothing deep and meaningful. It's like
information exchange rather than
basically
feelings exchange.
Yeah. And that's how it is.
Interesting final thought. Phil, what's yours?
Mine is along the similar lines of yours, but I'm kind of feeling that these dating apps need to take a bit more accountability, and they basically need to get people verified with ID before they join up. Because I think if people are verified and their ID's on there, they're less likely to go off on one to anybody else, and they can be held more accountable.
Thing is, I don't know if that will solve it.
No.
Because I think that most of the guys who are behaving like this don't even know it's a problem. So the idea that they'll behave themselves if they know you've got a copy of their idea relies on the fact that they have a conscience and know that this is wrong. And I think that for most guys who are behaving in this way, they think that's a perfectly appropriate way to approach a woman. But I do agree that so sometimes when you get a message like that, your only option is to report them. Sometimes reporting them doesn't feel like the right thing. I kind of almost want there to be a traffic light system. So I want there to be a system where you're like red flag, this guy's a fucking nutcase. But there also needs to be something where it's like made me feel quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's, for those people who maybe are a bit vulgar or keep messaging you after you've clearly stopped messaging them, get the hint and have kept going, or if you said, sorry, I'm not really feeling it, they've come back and gone, well, fuck you then, and been aggy. And it maybe isn't like the reporting thing is quite binary, isn't it? You either report them or you don't. Whereas I feel like there maybe would benefit from being a bit more subtlety, so that they can go, look, mate, this kind of conduct isn't really okay. Here's a warning. You need to sort yourself out.
Yeah.
Rather than just banning people. Because if you have somebody who is inappropriate or who doesn't understand what the boundaries are, if you just ban them, they have not learned anything from that experience other than Twitter's a dickhead. I don't mean Twitter. Tinder's a dickhead. Then they haven't been educated in that setting.
With the accountability, it's in case somebody's threatening or something like that, where these people, so on Tinder you could basically be anyone. You could be anyone, you can catfish anyone, you could make up a name, you could make up anything like that. If you then, let's say, meet somebody on a date and you commit a crime or something like that, if that dating app actually had your ID, you know that person who you're talking to is that person. And if they did something, it could then be passed to the police because it's that person. And this is what I'm getting at.
But I think it goes back to this fact that most of the issue is not with crimes. It's not something that you could persecute people for. Most of the problem is with this in-betweeny space.
Mm-hmm. But then again, if people knew that they could be held accountable for it, maybe it wouldn't happen, but maybe it would. We don't know, because I don't think the dating apps will ever do it. So there we go. But that's just my final thought.
I guess if there's a way to hold people accountable, you know, people would maybe withdraw from the dating apps, and the dating apps wouldn't get their money, would they? So, you know, they're not going to do it.
Necessarily in their interests.
No. Unfortunately, greed wins over righteousness.
So, Abby, we're super grateful for you coming on the show today and sharing your experiences with us. We both are big fans of both your Instagram account and your podcast. Mm-hmm. So, for listeners who want to find out a bit more about you, can you tell us where they would find you?
So I'm on Instagram as Abbie, ABBIE.does.dating, and the podcast is singled-in, and that is available on all major podcast apps.
Awesome.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
And if you see Abbie on Tinder, be nice. Come on, it's not that difficult.
Just be nice, okay?
Just be nice.
Kind of cost nothing.
And I'd like to thank everyone for listening.
So on next week's episode will be me, Liz, and we're joined by a special guest. We won't spoil much, but we're going to be talking about that person, which was talked about in this episode, and how guys find it hard to talk about their feelings and everything like that.
If you'd like to get in touch, then you can do, whether that's to submit a dating disaster, ask a question, or ask for some advice. We're not that good at helping, but one of our guest experts will certainly be able to. So if you'd like to get in touch, head on over to our socials.
On Facebook and Instagram, it's at Unhinged and Bumbled Up.
On Twitter, it's at bumbledup.
Or by email, it's unhinged.and.bumbledup@gmail.com.
If you liked the episode, then please don't forget to like and share, and click the follow button above.
We also now have a website, www.unhingedandbumbledup.co.uk. See you all next week.